Hi guys, welcome to this Apple box review today. Today I'm going to look at a little camera called the Canon XA10. This little thing here. Recently I was approached by a client to shoot some online videos for them, just for their employees to put up on their intranet. And essentially when they came to me, they said they were going to go out and buy a camera, and they ended up talking to Canon and they ended up buying one of these. Now, as you can see, this is a little compact camera. It's a prosumer camera. And I've got to tell you, after using this thing, I was a little bit skeptical, because essentially what I shoot on for most of my things for the last year and a half now has been a Canon 5D Mark II. This little thing basically shoots on a 1920 by 1080 frame in native HD, but it's a 1/3 inch CMOS sensor, which works on the AVC HD codec. You know, essentially this is a really good video camera. If you look at the design, it's very compact, it's very lightweight. A good thing about this, it's got this top handle on here, which a lot of us are used to with the dual XLR inputs, which is really cool. You can really get a nice pro feel there and pro audio happening. And it's got all the dials to match with the, you know, setting your volume and obviously your phantom power, you know, going off the camera's power to fire up your microphones. And, you know, it's got a little hot shoe accessory there to put different things on. And it even has another little microphone mount that you can that you can stick on this the little top handle here, and you know, run a, I don't know, a Rode mic or something, or whatever you feel. Also, you can actually take this little top handle off, and you end up with the little camera base itself, which I guess makes for good inconspicuous recording. You know, you could essentially just take your top handle off and go out and record with your base on your family holiday, or even as a, you know, a guerrilla filmmaker, you can go out and just use this base of the camera and have a sound go off, you know, hiding away with a little microphone hooked up to an MP3 recorder. You just, you know, that possibility is endless. I really like that because the image is so great. Recording on this camera, it's got a few, I guess a few sort of options with how you can, what sort of media you can record on. It's got a built-in memory of 64 gigabytes, so that's pretty handy. You can store a lot of information up there because this thing shoots in a lot of bit rates. The highest bit rate it can go is the 24 megabits per second, and I think it can go as low as like a 5 megabits per second as well. So you get a range of bit rates there depending on what sort of production you're shooting. So say for instance you're shooting a something that's going to be put on TV or something, you want to shoot at the highest bit rate you can go, or you got something you want to put on the web, you can go a little bit of a lower bit rate, and you can also saves you time when you're dumping your footage onto your system, you know, with file size wise. So there's a range of options there, which I think is really good. Now, if you don't like recording on the internal hard drive, you know, in some ways, if you were on a film set or something, or shooting an event, you filled up the internal hard drive on this on the camera, you know, essentially if you wanted to go dump that, you'd have to hook up your camera to your laptop or whatever, your computer, and dump your footage and wait, and then, you know, go back and shoot again. So you're losing a little bit of time there. So, but essentially what they've done, they've got two SD card slots here, which you can put, you know, put your information on. Good thing about this is you can do a relay record. Say you wanted to shoot on the internal hard drive first, go to card A and then go to card B. You can do that in a continuous recording. Or you can do another cool thing. You can just record from card A to card B, or you can do simultaneous recording where you can record on both cards at the same time. So you've ultimately got a backup on both of your cards of information, which is kind of handy in this day and age of digital technology where backing up is very important. Now, looking on the outside of the camera, there's not much going on in the way of knobs and dials. It's very simple and slick. Obviously on the top handle you've got the zoom rocker and another extra stop and start button. You got the focus ring up the front, which is pretty groovy. It's actually nice, this focus ring. Obviously doesn't have the stop and start points on it, but in manual focus mode it's really good, because as soon as you turn that focus ring, it automatically zooms in on the LCD screen, and it actually zooms in on the subject, and you can really get a fine-tuned manual focus, and it pops back out ready for you to shoot. Now, I think the one thing Canon have done with this camera is to cut down on the cost. They've removed a lot of the dials that you'd normally see that can control things like, you know, your shutter, your white balance, those sort of things. So what they've done, they essentially put it in the menu system of this camera on the LCD screen. Now it's a bit cumbersome sometimes to get in there and try and find where everything is. A lot of it's hidden away, so you've really got to get in there and play around with this camera before you want to go out and really figure out the full potential of it. But essentially, once you've gotten over that, you can get in there, you can change your white balance. It comes with all the standard presets you normally find on most cameras, and you can also dial in your Kelvin. It comes with zebras, which I think is pretty cool on a camera like this. It also comes with your manual settings, which are all in the all in this camera. And you know, you can, within this LCD screen, you can actually change your shutter speed, your f-stops, and of course your gain, which you know, can be a bit annoying if you're trying to just do it off the screen here and so forth. But there's a little custom dial at the back which you can assign those little your shutter, your gain, and your f-stop too, so you can just toggle between it while you're shooting. So that's a really good thing. You can also do a cool focus thing on here where it brings up a screen where you can touch different areas where you want to focus. That's, you know, that's pretty cool, but there's like endless possibilities in there what you can actually do with this camera, so it's well worth a look if you get one, really understand the camera and get in there in the menus. Another thing this camera comes out with is face detection. A lot of camera, like just video cameras these days, are coming out with that. I think it's a good thing if your talent is front on to the camera. It exposes the skin tone very nicely, but as soon as they turn away and sort of like this side profile, things can go a little bit pear-shaped, so just be wary of that. First time I shot with it, I did have the face detection on and I was getting a few fluctuations of certain things here and there, so what I essentially did was turn that off and didn't use it. Now, another cool thing with this camera is it's got 3 modes you can shoot in straight off. You can just do the simple auto, which just takes care of everything for you. It's got a manual setting where you can override everything. You can get in there and really change the camera around, or it's got the cinema thing which complements your manual setting, where it's got different presets in it. I guess it's not the same, but it's kind of similar to, you know, with the 5D now you've got all these guys out here making these different picture styles, and you can dial in your saturation and take out contrast and so forth. That's what it's got in there. And then I think in the cinema setting, you can do things like vivid recording, where your colors are punched. You can even do the novelty thing of making it black and white or sepia. So it's got a range of things that you can play around with there and really get into. Now, it does have a groovy infrared system on it, which I haven't really used. I don't really see any use for that for myself, but I don't know, maybe at night you might do a lot of nighttime videoing. I don't know, you might end up, that might be something you're after. It has basically a little latch here that exposes you know, HDMI out and a USB connection, which you can do, which is really, really cool for plugging in when you're shooting off the hard drive. Also has the headphone jacks, something we're missing with the DSLR cameras, which I think a lot of us think is very important for monitoring sound straight off the camera. I must admit the internal microphone on this thing's pretty good as well. It you know, picks up some nice sound quality. The LCD screen's really, really good. It's nice and good quality, nice and bright. You can really get in there and really see the image really, really well. It does have the viewfinder at the back, which you pull out and it turns on. It's not the greatest. It's not the greatest at all. That's probably one thing I didn't like about it. But other than that, this camera is a really, really good camera. It's like at a low price. It's about just over $2,000 here in Australia. Shoots in 50i here and obviously 25p, depending on what region you're in. It'll do other record in other formats, obviously. But I think in the right hands of a competent cameraman, this camera would really, really excel, and you'd be able to get out some really, really interesting images. We shot a little test thing in my backyard just the other day, just to see how we could push this camera and what we could do with it, and we created a short film which we're going to show later in the show. But other than that, yeah, if you ever get a chance to use one of these, do so. The Canon XA10.